Carl Jung and shadow work. Carl Gustav Jung, a Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst, is one of the most influential figures in modern psychology. A contemporary of Sigmund Freud, Jung eventually parted ways with Freud to explore his own theories, which emphasized the deeper, spiritual, and unconscious dimensions of the human psyche. Among his many contributions, Jung introduced the concept of the shadow, a psychological term that refers to the hidden or repressed aspects of the self. The shadow is not inherently negative, rather it contains all the parts of ourselves we choose to reject, hide, or disown, including anger, envy, greed, desire, and even positive traits like confidence or ambition, depending on how we were raised. According to Jung, true personal growth comes from the process of integration, where an individual becomes whole by facing and reconciling with these hidden parts. This process is called shadow work. In recent years, the idea of shadow work has gained popularity in self-help, spiritual, and mental health communities. The phrase, "do this for 30 days and you'll be unrecognizable," is not a direct quote from Jung, but it captures the transformative essence of engaging in consistent shadow work. By devoting just a month to intentional self-reflection and inner excavation, people often report profound changes in how they see themselves and relate to the world. The first step, however, is understanding what shadow work really entails. Understanding shadow work. The shadow begins to form in childhood. As children, we receive cues, both subtle and direct, from parents, teachers, peers, and society about what is acceptable and what is not. A child who is told boys don't cry or good girls don't get angry may begin to suppress those emotions. Over time, these suppressed parts don't disappear. They merely go underground, becoming part of the unconscious shadow. The more a person ignores these parts, the more power they gain, often showing up as projections, emotional outbursts, or self-sabotage. Shadow work involves turning inward and observing these hidden elements with compassion and honesty. Unlike surface-level self-improvement techniques, which often focus on external habits or behaviors, shadow work asks us to sit with discomfort, face our emotional wounds, and examine the origin of our beliefs and reactions. This work can be confronting and painful, but it is also liberating. The goal is not to fix the shadow, but to become aware of it and integrate it into our conscious personality. One of Jung's key assertions was that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Shadow work gives us back that power. It interrupts unconscious patterns and helps us respond to life with clarity and authenticity rather than reactivity and fear. For many, this process becomes a spiritual practice, a path towards self-realization and inner peace. The 30-day shadow work practice. A 30-day shadow work journey doesn't require elaborate tools or expensive courses. What it does require is commitment, honesty, and a willingness to face parts of yourself you may have long avoided. The following is a basic structure for daily shadow work. 1. Daily journaling. Spend 10 to 15 minutes each day reflecting on your emotions, triggers, or memories. Write freely, without censoring. Ask yourself, what bothered me today and why? Or what am I ashamed to admit about myself? 2. Emotional triggers log. Each time you feel anger, jealousy, embarrassment, or irritation, pause and reflect. What part of you felt threatened? Often what we judge in others is a reflection of what we deny in ourselves. 3. Radical self-honesty, be brutally honest, not in a self-shaming way but in a curious and compassionate way. For example, instead of thinking, "I'm such a bad person for feeling jealous," ask, "What does this jealousy reveal about my unmet needs or fears?" 4. Shadow prompts. Use structured prompts to dig deeper. Some examples: what am I pretending not to know? Who triggers me the most and why? What traits do I judge harshly in others? 5. End-of-week reflections. At the end of each week, summarize what you learned. Are there patterns in your reactions? What themes keep recurring? These daily practices allow you to witness your inner world with increasing clarity. After 30 days, most people find they have a deeper understanding of themselves, improved emotional regulation, and a more grounded sense of self. Psychological and emotional impact. The transformation that occurs after 30 days of shadow work is profound, often described as becoming unrecognizable, not in a physical sense, but emotionally and energetically. People may notice they no longer react to the same triggers, or that their relationships have shifted. Anxiety often decreases, because suppressed emotions are no longer festering in the unconscious. Communication improves, because individuals are more honest with themselves and others. Psychologists and therapists who work with Jungian methods have long observed the therapeutic benefits of shadow work. In clinical settings, techniques like dream analysis, active imagination, and role-playing are used to surface unconscious material. While these methods require guidance, even simple journaling can bring significant results when done with consistency. Anecdotal stories abound, from people who ended toxic relationships, discovered new careers, or healed long-standing family wounds, all as a result of facing their inner darkness. Jung himself warned that this process isn't for the faint of heart. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, he said, but by making the darkness conscious. Final thoughts. Shadow work is not a one-time task, it's a lifelong journey. But 30 days is enough to begin, enough to disrupt old patterns, enough to spark self-compassion, enough to change the way you relate to the world. When people say you'll become unrecognizable, they mean that you'll no longer be operating from an outdated version of yourself, one shaped by shame, fear, and avoidance. In truth, you won't become someone new. You'll become more of who you really are, the integrated, whole version of yourself. The parts you pushed away will no longer control you from the shadows. Instead, they'll become part of your conscious self, informing your decisions with wisdom rather than fear. For anyone ready to begin, the path is simple but not easy. Start journaling. Pay attention to your reactions. Question your beliefs. And above all, be kind to yourself. As Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Resources to explore: Owning Your Own Shadow by Robert A. Johnson, The Shadow Effect by Debbie Ford, Carl Jung's Collected Works, especially Volume 9, Part 2. Shadow Work Journaling Prompts available in many self-help guides.